take a look at Brian's career to this point before we put him to work here on NFL Live. He backed up Tom Brady for 5 seasons with the Patriots, which includes winning Super Bowl 53 in the 2018 season when the Pats defeated the Rams. Including the Patriots, Brian started for 8 different teams, including an impressive season with the Texans in 2015 when he helped lead Houston to a division title. And Hoyer returned to the Pats in 2020 when Tom Brady left New England to sign with the Bucs. He played 3 more seasons with the Patriots before spending last season with the Raiders. We're going to get his thoughts on Las Vegas and that quarterback situation in a few. But first, it's been a busy offseason for the Patriots, guys, which began when they parted ways with Bill Belichick after 24 seasons and 6 Super Bowl titles, replacing him with Jerod Mayo. They also parted ways with quarterback Mac Jones, trading the former first-round pick to the Jaguars, and to replace him, the Pats drafted Drake Maye with the 3rd overall pick, signing veteran Jacoby Brissett to a 1-year deal. New England also signed several key players to contract extensions. Brian, you know Jacoby Brissett well. You played with him. You spent a lot of time with him. When you look at the quarterback situation in New England, Drake Maye, the 3rd overall pick, but how would you handle all of it for them?
I mean, Jacoby's like a little brother to me. We were teammates, we're friends, and I think, you know, the Patriots, you go into the season, you sign Jacoby Brissett, you know you're drafting a quarterback with that pick, but you sign him to be the starter right away because he's capable, he's played a lot of football, he's very endearing to his teammates, they love him, and he's the perfect guy to mentor Drake Maye.
And Brian, to that point, I'm hard-pressed to understand, why doesn't he start on opening day? Here's somebody that's playing 78 games in his career, started 48. What is the rush with Drake Maye and all these rookie quarterbacks? I love Drake Maye. I think he's going to be great, but it's about the next 10 years, not the next 10 weeks. And to me, Jacoby is perfect. You got a rookie head coach. Let Jerod Mayo find his way. Let things slow down. And if he starts on October 1st, November 1st, whenever it is, let's take our time and let's let Jacoby settle things down and get the season off.
I mean, it's the Instagram world, Mike T. We're trying to get likes and comments. We want you to repost us on your story. That's what's happening so much in this league. But I believe that Jerod Mayo will be smart. I believe he understands as a player in that locker room what it means if you get on the field a little bit too early, how your confidence can be shaken if things don't start off the right way. And they have the perfect bridge quarterback. You heard some of the characteristics that Brian described Jacoby Brissett with, and that's all we've ever seen from him. Someone who can start, someone who can win football games, but also show the humility to be a part of a quarterback room. Chemistry is so big for a young rookie, and when you have somebody like Jacoby Brissett who has that sort of understanding, you also have a head coach who was part of winning locker rooms. They understand how to mentor and bring a young quarterback along. So Drake Mayo should start when Drake Mayo is ready and only then.
That was interesting, combining Drake Maye and Jerod Mayo.
It's like the same person.
I thought you were doing something cool. Like, it was cool. I think it's a thing. We should make it a thing.
He plays quarterbacker, not quarterback.
All right, let's go to Jerod Maye.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. We're not going to keep doing that. But Brian, you did spend time with Jerod Mayo. You played with him when you were still part of that team. What do you expect from him taking over as head coach?
Yeah, I mean, look, I played with Jerod. I came in a year after he did. He was a leader already as a second-year player, a Pro Bowl player, had a great career, you know, ended that career, went into the corporate world. And so he's someone who can relate to this younger generation. I know RC was saying it's the Instagram, it's the likes. You know, Jerod coming right after Bill, that's, you know, he learned from Bill, but he's also bridging that gap to the youth, right? And so Jerod had, you know, learned his lessons from Bill, but he's got his own flavor. He's got his own personality. And I know talking to some of the guys, they love the way he's approaching it. And, you know, you just got to carry that over to wins in the season.
You know, one thing that really impressed me about Jerod Mayo was earlier in the season, he's like, we're going to burn some cash. And then later on, he's like, you know what? That wasn't right. That was a mistake. And to have somebody so self-assured who's a rookie head coach to say, hey, I said something that was a little incorrect, I was really impressed by that. I think he's going to be a great leader, and it'll be interesting to see. To me, this will be a hard team to beat because they're going to play, you know, sound offense, hopefully with Jacoby Brissett, and they'll be good on defense with his leadership.
Yeah, at 38 years old, Mayo is the second youngest active coach in the NFL. Only the Seahawks' Mike McDonald is a little bit younger. Adam Schefter, I mentioned he was with us. Adam, what more do you have to add about the Patriots?
Well, first of all, welcome to Brian Hoyer. Nice to see him in our studios. And it's also great to see RC go from host to now analyst after being an insider the other day. Who's had a more versatile week than Ryan Clark right now? But I would say this in regards to the New England Patriots right now. It would be an upset if anybody but Jacoby Brissett started on on opening day. Nobody's rushing Drake Maye. And the full expectation is that Brissett is going to be the opening day starter. And in fact, when they signed him, they knew that that was going to be the case. And having him there on the roster enables them to bring along Drake Maye very slowly until they feel like he's ready. And if he has to sit all year, then he has to sit all year. That's the way it'll be. But there's no way they're going to rush Drake Maye, especially when they've got a quarterback as strong and supportive as Jacoby Brissett on the roster.
Yeah, I mean, for Maye's future, I would love to actually see him sit all year. I know Patriots fans may not always love that because they might want to see the hope and see the potential, but I think it could be good for him. Also, stay tuned. In like 30 minutes, RC is going to operate a camera, so we're going to add another.
Well, the last time I was around, a camera split me open, so I'm good with that.
That happened again yesterday, too. The Dolphins have their quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa, but he's due for an extension. Tua said himself, the market is the market when asked about getting paid, but we're still waiting to see if the Dolphins agree on that market, okay? Let's get Adam Schefter back in here. Adam, what more can you tell us on where things stand right now with Tua and the Dolphins?
Laura, look, the Dolphins have been very clear. They want to pay Tua Tagovailoa. The question is, what is fair market value? And that's a moving bar because a couple of weeks ago, it would have been easy to argue that hey, we don't know that he's worth the money that the Bengals are paying Joe Burrow, which is $55 million a year on average. But then Trevor Lawrence comes along and he gets $55 million a year on average. And so when that happens, the market shifts. And so the Dolphins and Tua Tagovailoa are now left to figure out what is the proper value for a quarterback of his abilities. Look, the Dolphins want to keep him. They're expected to keep him. They're going to get him signed at some point. The question is, what is that number? I guess I would say this. I know Ryan's had a number of roles here, but so has another panelist on the desk. Mike Tannenbaum once ran the Dolphins. What would he do with Tua Tagovailoa if he was still the president of that team?
Yeah, Mike, what would you do?
I thought we were going to defer to our guest here first.
This is your expertise. I'm the player coming from the player side, so you know how I think about it.
Yeah, exactly. Look, when you sit in that seat, I always said, look, you're the point guard of information. You have your head coach on one side and the owner on the other. And every deal, there's a deal to be made. In this one, the bullseye is really small, and here's why. He's a great player. The average per year to me is pretty easy to figure out. 55 million-ish should be the average per year. To me, the guaranteed money is really hard because the Dolphins are going to say, hey, you were hurt in college, you were hurt in the NFL. We have to be prudent here, and we have to protect ourselves. Tua has to say, hey, I played in 17 games last year. 66 different quarterbacks played in the NFL last year. Yeah. I played in every one of them. So why am I taking a discount? And that's why I think we're sitting here at the end of June, guys, and this deal isn't done.
Well, you also saw Tua make some changes to the way that he played the position as well to try and protect himself a little bit more and become a little bit more agile. Brian, do you think Tua is worth top of the market quarterback money, which I think is an important clarification there, in that $50 to $55 million range?
Well, I think we talked about it before off air, is like you're going to have to pay him something because you don't really have anyone to take over for him. I mean, the guaranteed money is a big thing, right? And I think, at some point that money per year will come. But to me, I hate to use the term system quarterback, but I've played in this system, and he's a guy who, Mike McDaniel, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, they want you to get the ball to the playmakers, and they do a great job of setting him up with run, play action, things like that. And he's done a great job. He's done a great job executing it. But $55 million a year who, you could go out and find someone to execute it a la Brock Purdy, how he took over for Jimmy Garoppolo in San Francisco.
Boy, I wish you was Dan Orlovsky and you might not have to go play. Because I would ask you. So what you're saying is Tua ain't worth $55 million. I'm not going to put it on Brian Hoyer. Do it anyway. Brian Hoyer got to go play. I don't want to do that. He might have to go back into a locker room.
All right.
But what I heard was Brian Hoyer said that Tua Tagovailoa is not worth $55 million, so work backwards from there.
All right. Well, Brian, we're not going to ask you to clarify further because RC did it for you. One of the things that was interesting yesterday, Adam, Jeff Darlington was on the show, and he was saying he thought Jordan Love's deal could get done even before this Tua deal.
Well, I think that's certainly possible. The Packers and Jordan Love have been working on it. I think the two deals fall into a similar category. Both teams want to sign their players. Both players want to get the deals done. And I think there are two natural, artificial deadlines for both those deals. One would be right before training camp when there usually are a flurry of deals that get done as teams are reporting. And if it doesn't get done then I would think the next one would come right before the season when the next flurry of deals gets done. But you're, again, in the situation with Tua talking about that guaranteed money. I would pose this out there. If you're Tua Tagovailoa, just like the Dolphins want to make sure that they're careful Do you want to go into another season and play on that contract right now without locking in some form of massive guaranteed money? So I think there's a lot at stake for both sides, and it's up to them to thread the needle, figure it out, and come up with a solution no matter what Brian Hoyer thinks.
If I'm Tua Tagovailoa, if I'm Tua Tagovailoa, I do not step foot onto a Miami Dolphins practice field or in a stadium field until I have some sort of guarantees. If a contract is not done, I do not go to work.
And from a front office perspective, that's what keeps me up at night is it's our quarterback. Like we could get by if it's a safety, those guys are easy to find. But when it comes to your starting quarterback, that's the ultimate leverage. One thing I will say, if a deal doesn't get done, Miami does have the franchise tag in their back pocket. Not ideal on your quarterback, but it does give them some protection.
Yeah, in that regard, too, you're the starting quarterback, and the drop-off after Tua is steep. So, I mean, he has all the leverage in the world. Whether I think he's worth it or not, he's going to get paid because there's really no option after him.
And, Mike, safeties might be easy to replace, but it's very hard to find somebody who hosts his own podcast, hosts Get Up, serves as an insider, and serves as an analyst on all these shows. That is very difficult to replace. The more you can do, and Ryan Clark has mastered that after his post-football career when a safety could easily be replaced back then. But what he does now cannot be replaced.
He's winning Emmys. He's hosting Inside the NFL. He's hosting NFL Live. He's hosting Get Up. He's an analyst. What am I leaving out? I think
you got it all.
Things. All right, we're going to do the rest of it.
Watch out, Laura.
We're going to do the rest of it in the commercial break. After leading the Packers to a playoff win last year, Jordan Love is another QB waiting to get paid. Love said he's got reason to think that an extension will be done by training camp, which, by the way, is less than a month away. So, Adam, what more can you tell us about the negotiations going on with the Packers and Love right now?
Laura, Jordan Love is very thoughtful about what he does and doesn't say. And there have been ongoing conversations between the Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love for weeks now. But the Packers also are very methodical in their approach. We mentioned before the fact that it was hard for them before to say that Jordan Love might deserve an average per year equal to Joe Burrow at $55 million a year. But when the Jaguars give Trevor Lawrence $55 million a year, the dynamics and the situation both change. And so those talks continue on. And I think that they'd like to get this done, as Jordan Love said, by training camp. But if they can't, the next window of time would be before the season began. And you'd have to think at some point in time, it's not a difficult deal to figure out. It's more along the lines of the Green Bay Packers, who are very methodical, very deliberate, being comfortable with the number that they ultimately get to, which they're going to have to get to anyway, because you need to do this deal done. Need to get it done now before Dak Prescott gets a huge deal at some point, maybe next offseason. So this deal, to me, has to get done either right before training camp or right before the start of the season. And as we talked about, the numbers should not be hard to figure out.
Yeah, it's interesting because the timing here is of the essence with all these teams trying to figure out the quarterback deals because of the quarterback market resetting. Love was one of, if not the best quarterbacks in the NFL during the second half of the season. Look at this. From Week 11 through the Packers' upset of the Cowboys in the wild card playoffs, Love led the NFL in QBR, and it wasn't close. Mike Tannenbaum loves it. He had 21 touchdown passes and just one interception during that span. My word. It'll make RC spin in his chair. Mike, would you
I know what's coming.
I know.
I rest my case?
Yeah, you love it. No pun intended. Would you give Love a top-of-the-market quarterback contract after just one successful season? Because that's the only problem here is it's a relatively small sample size.
Absolutely. Outside of Patrick Mahomes, if we, the four of us, were running an NFL team today, there is nobody on the planet I'd rather have than Jordan Love, period, end of sentence. 25 years old, can make all the throws, 6'4", high character, high processor, can make people miss. The sky is the limit. If he was an IPO, it'd be like buying NVIDIA 3 years ago.
Okay.
He is by far to me the player that has the most sustained upside. Do I love Josh Allen? Of course I love Josh Allen. Josh Allen takes a lot of big hits. C.J. Stroud, love C.J. Stroud. Jordan Love's been in the league a little bit longer than C.J. Stroud. There are some other people in that conversation, but when you talk about sustained excellence, to me, it's Jordan Love and then everybody else.
Mike Tannenbaum, you can't read the outline and attack what we're going to say before we say it because it's written here what we're going to say. We didn't even, the conversation didn't even start like it was supposed to. You attack Brian Hoyer. It's his first time here, right? You see what I'm going to say later. You jump on me before I ever get an opportunity to say something about C.J. Stroud. Laura, this guy's taking over the show.
Well, you know what?
Are you saying it's a false start?
The good thing is, yeah, you had one, but we'll give you one. And you have a few deep breaths here because I'm going to go to Brian next. So you can think of a new point while Brian's
taking
talking.
Stroud, then we know who I'm taking, right? Josh Allen. I mean, look, for me, it's Josh Allen, and only because I say this. If there's one quarterback that I wish I could have played like, it's Josh Allen. I mean, this guy's 6'5", 250. I watched him play against us in the playoffs in 2021. He's juking our DBs. He's running over our linebackers. He's rolling left, throwing it back to the right on a dime. And I think, sometimes that his abilities kind of deter him a little bit. He throws a bad pick, things like that. But you go back to when Brian Daboll was the offense coordinator, and Josh proved that he could play quarterback. And when everything breaks down, he makes incredible plays. And so I think if he can just harness that and pull it back a little bit, avoid the red zone turnovers, to me, Josh Allen, he's still 28. He's big. Yeah, I know he takes a lot of hits, but he can take them.
But aren't you worried about his durability?
I mean, look, I play with Cam Newton, and Josh is up in size with them, and Cam sustained it. I mean, this guy, I would say this, he's able to do it, and he's done it year after year without sustaining any severe injuries. I think, obviously, you want him to maybe bow out a little bit, but he's proven it year after year after year, and to me, he's got to use his brain a little bit more and just go out and play. And I think, to me, that's who I would pick. Yeah,
and you said, that you take Jordan Love over C.J. Stroud because he's been in the league a little longer, but he's only started a couple more games than C.J. Stroud. And he definitely didn't show some of the things as a young player. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers was still there that C.J. Stroud has shown. When you think about his ability to protect the ball while also being fearless with the ball, his ability to lead, make the clutch play. You go back to the Cincinnati Bengal game where he finds a way to win. The touchdown winning drive down in Houston to show this team that no matter where we are in any game, I can make the plays, I can lead us through, I can make the right decisions to get us where we want to go. And I love the fact that you mentioned running and you mentioned running. C.J. Stroud is the first elite, not just good, elite pocket passer and processor that people have had negative things to say about because he refuses to run, because he's not necessarily, quote unquote, dual threat. For so many years, we were looking for this guy, and now all of a sudden, because he can process enough to get rid of it, he can process enough to spike it if he needs to, process enough to just throw it away, and if he doesn't do that, he's making the right decisions. We don't like this guy as one of the elite.
I love C.J. Stroud. I'll say that. I'm a Josh Allen fan, but what he did as a rookie and what they're building around him, Nick Caserio, D'Amico Ryans, I mean, it's all up for him.
Yeah, they've also added some great additions this offseason. Just to re-rack here, guys, so everyone agrees that you would pick Patrick Mahomes as your first quarterback, but Mike Tannenbaum's drafting Jordan Love as the second option. Brian Hoyer's going Josh Allen, and Ryan Clark, as Mike alluded to earlier, is going C.J. Stroud. By the way, guys, we're going to get to see C.J. Stroud and Jordan Love play against each other this season. That'll be pretty fun. The Packers hosting the Texans in Week 7.
You look like my two teenagers.
Time to read and react. The most interesting sound across the league. Let's start in Baltimore. Ravens tight end Isaiah Likely said this about his role in the offense. Quote, "It's being a chess piece. Being anywhere Monk, the Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken, needs me to be in this offense, whether it's in the slot, in line, in the backfield, split out wide by myself. The more you know, the more you can stay on the field." RC, what do you think about Likely as a chess piece in this offense?
I love this, right? Mark Andrews was down last year, so Isaiah Likely became the #1 target at the tight end position. He's a matchup nightmare. He's a guy with long speed. He's someone that can catch the 50-50 ball, and he can give you matchup issues if you're a defense. And we saw last year that he can actually be a difference maker. So now when you add Mark Andrews back into the fold, you think of all the receivers that they have on the outside. Isaiah Likely may be that guy that you can move around at the U, whether it's the slot, the one, also put him in motion where you take advantage of him having opportunities against players at the linebacker position not fast enough, defensive backs not big enough.
Next up, we know Travis Kelce's been working as a backup dancer for his Mexican girlfriend Taylor Swift this offseason, but he also had this to say on the Chiefs' possibilities of a three-peat. Quote, I think right now we got the focus and we got the team to be able to do it. Every year you go to restart that engine, man, you got to rebuild it. We got a lot of fun pieces added. Hollywood Brown, seeing him run around this offseason has been so fun. Him and Pat have a connection immediately. At least once or twice in 7-on-7, Pat's just making sure he gives Hollywood that chance to make a play downfield. And I'm just like smiling and nodding. He didn't say that. He actually smiled and nodded, and we know what that looks like. Mike, what do you think of the Chiefs' chances to three-peat?
Yeah, I don't like it. I hate to bet against Patrick Mahomes. Obviously, the math is overwhelmingly against them, but more fundamentally, look, they survived Tyreek Hill going to Miami, but who's playing left tackle? Is it second-round pick Kingsley Sumatea out of BYU? They have had a lot of different tackles there over the last 2 years. As great as Patrick Mahomes can be with his mind, his arm, his feet, at some point, not having a great left tackle will catch up to them. And I just think, be it Cincinnati, if Joe Burrow's healthy, somebody, they could be gotten because of their left tackle situation.
Yeah, it's such a strong division. Finally, to Philly, who signed Saquon Barkley this offseason, offensive tackle Lane Johnson had this to say about his new teammate.
Once you see him, you'll never forget this, physically imposing guy. I think he walks around 230. He likes to golf, so we've been golfing a few times. He's ultra competitive, but yeah, I mean, when you see obviously what he can do at the running back position, and we can flex him out at receiver, and he can, he can go. It's really unbelievable. I never thought that he would be playing for us, but here it is. I know that he's excited. We're definitely excited up front, and yeah, man, I think he's poised for a big year.
Brian, how does the addition of Saquon change the Eagles' offense?
Man, I love it. I think, just like Lane said, I think that was a surprise. But what he adds to that backfield, you pair him with Jalen Hurts. Is it RPOs? Is it zone reads? Now the defense is sucking up as they throw pop passes behind to Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert. I mean, that's just one more thing for a defense to have to worry about. And he is great not only in the run game, but in the pass game as well.
When you think about where this team was in their Super Bowl run, it was finding a way to get Miles Sanders the football and have him add to what they could do with Jalen Hurts, giving you the threat of the quarterback pull. You think about A.J. Brown on the outside. You have Devonta Smith. You know that there are weapons out there. If that run game can return to form from that Super Bowl team, I think this is a team we look at that could compete again in the NFC.
Yeah.
I think Saquon Barkley makes Jalen Hurts healthy. Jalen Hurts has led the league over the last 3 years in rushing attempts, and he looks beat up at the end of the year. I think Saquon makes Jalen Hurts better and healthier.
Yeah, and it's not all on Saquon. Finally gets an offense of that. It does look a little bit weird to see him in the Eagles jersey.
Are you saying that having Daniel Jones didn't help Saquon Barkley?
Great athlete, RC.